Embattled Minnesota State Representative John Thompson says he has learned from his past mistakes and is ready to move independently to work for the people he represents. Thompson is now an independent after the DFL expelled him from their caucus. He believes that this will free him up to work with Republicans and Democrats to address the needs of his constituents. Thompson is also speaking out about what led to his troubles before and after he was elected. Here's an extended version of his conversation with our Reg Chapman.
So you are more than proud to represent this area of St. Paul. Talk about what it means to be the state representative for this part of town.
You know, on the east side of St. Paul, they've never had an African-American male ever in the history of this state in this position that I'm in now. So I'm the first African-American male ever in the history of this state to have this seat in this district. And so that's something I'm proud of, because there's African-American men that look just like me who see me. And I know you heard the term, if they see it, they can be it. And so I try to show a lot of the youth and young men here something that you can be, and try to be a positive inspiration to these youth here, and especially the young men. They need to see more representation like me in places and positions to make change. So I feel proud. Like when I walk down the street, I walk down Payne Avenue, and people were like high-fiving and throwing their hands up, man. So it feels good, to know that you're doing something that the people appreciate here on the east side.
So there's been a lot going on, a lot of moving parts in your life and your career the last year. But one thing in particular is that you're now an independent. How's that kind of working at the State House, and how do you plan on being effective as an independent than when you were with the DFL?
So I think I asked you the definition of independent, and then I thought about it again. Independent would be to work independently, to work for the interests of the people, right, and not be tied down to a party, as opposed to working for the people. I didn't do this for the seat. I did it for the people. Does that make sense? I didn't run for office for the seat. I didn't run for office for a party. I ran for office for the people who feel like they don't have a voice, or their voices aren't being heard. And so, as an independent, I get to work across the aisle with a lot of great legislators here at the Minnesota State Capitol. And hopefully a lot of times we can come up with ideas that will benefit my community, because my community needs a lot of resources. Here's a very diverse community here on the east side. We talk about our African-American population, our Somali population, our Hmong Korean population. We have a huge Native American population, and then the Latino population here. If you look at some of the bills that I authored last year, a lot of them were centered towards businesses and resources for this community that I live in that is under-resourced, And so when you think about the Latino Economic Development Center across the street, right? It was $500,000 $900,000 in appropriations I got, so they could do some work here on the east side.
What are some of your claim to fame when it comes to legislation and things that you've done?
One bill was for the Sinea Foundation, which was $1.5 million to get some work done, so that Tony could actually bring in, we talk about culturally intelligent teachers and tutors. My granddad used to always say, Greyhound don't float on water. And so we're going to need to loosen the purse strings and actually help. And so that was an important investment. I think I got another $5 million I sit on the Health and Human Services Policy Committee. So I had another $5 million for culturally intelligent behavioral health specialists, right? Because mental health is an actual big deal here in my community. I actually see a behavioral health specialist, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I actually see a behavioral health specialist, a culturally intelligent, and we can have them right here in the community that needs them the most. I actually asked for $474 million in appropriations for our community, because I feel like our community was underinvested. In any contract negotiations, you're always supposed to aim for the moon, and so the number was so high because we do need investments in housing, jobs and economic development, contracts and procurements with the state. We're supposed to be doing a certain percentage of contracts and procurements with the state. And we're not even we don't meet the bar when it comes to, I don't want to say communities of color in particular, but I definitely want to say the ADOS community, the African American descendants. I definitely want to say that this community has been underrepresented for a very long time, man. And a lot of times what happens is we go to work every day and we have no problem paying taxes, but we have no say in how our tax dollars are spent. So it's almost like taxation without representation. And so I just want to be the representation that stops the taxation in my community. I hope I'm making a lot of sense.
You're making a lot of sense, and it's good stuff. And so the next question I want to talk to you is that when you were a member of the DFL party and people like Melissa Hortman, they were calling for your resignation. That's really kind of never been done before. Do you think this would have happened if you were a white state senator here in East St. Paul? Do you think that they would have been so pressing to get you to resign your position?
I've never been anything brutally honest. No, absolutely not. If you think about it, Barack Obama was our president. Who am I? I'm not bigger than Barack Obama. Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. I'm not bigger than him either. Both of them were the same skin tone as me. And so, no, we can go down the list of, and we don't have to because it's counterproductive for me. We can go down the list of legislators who have done real-time stuff just last year. Just last year. And they weren't in the news for 2 to 3 weeks, but because I'm outspoken and vocal on issues that matter for my community and matter to my community, because I speak for the people, because I've never left the people. The people have access to me 24/7. See, I didn't promise the people anything and then go and put a keyhole on my door where you can, peephole on my door where you can, can't come in unless I screen who you are. My door is always open, and my door is always open for policymakers and people who actually want to see change, to bring ideas to my office to create the change we want to see. And so, it's counterproductive to say, if I was a white man, we know historically what black men like myself, who are outspoken like myself, have went through. So these tactics haven't changed, just the faces have changed. And so I'm not by no means upset, or I'm not angry at anybody, because I was used to this, man. I was born in this skin color, man. I was born with this exact same skin color. Someone asked me though, Reg, and I have to make sure I say this to you. Someone asked me, with the activism work you do, you can be a little bit more like Martin Luther King. I say he was very peaceful. Martin Luther King was very peaceful. He never yelled. He never swore. And they killed him. So how'd that work out? And that's a fact. It's a fact. And people are mad at me a lot of times because of my words and because of my brash delivery. But I'm mad at people, and I'm showing up with this community because of someone's actions, not because of their words. Because someone actually perpetrated a hateful act on a member of our community, I'll show up. They didn't show up with words, to show up and football kick somebody in the mouth. So that's an action, right? You didn't show up with words, you actually harmed someone. I show up with words, armed with nothing but my hands, my feet, and my voice. And I make people upset, and rightfully so. I get it. Historically, this has been the case for anybody that's been in a position like I'm in.
You said you didn't want to be in that position where it brought your family and your wife into it. Any regrets about that traffic stop? Any regrets about not having a Minnesota license? Is that fixed now? Have fines been paid?
I do have a Minnesota driver's license now. I don't know if I ever told you this. My birthday's November 2nd. Did I ever tell you that? My birthday's November 2nd, and then like I won the election on November 3rd. Like, I forgot to, out of all the stuff to do, I do not change my drivers. Like, out of all the stuff to do. And so I go to the DMV, like to get my driver's stuff taken care of. And they're like, well, you can't use this expired license to do it, right? Okay. So I had to go back here and get it, right? And so I go back here and I get the license, then I come back to the DMV, and it's virtually impossible due to COVID to get in this place, man. And so now it's like the last thing on my list because we got community this, and you know, I'm a legislator now. And so this same driver's license, bro, I presented to the House Human Resources Department, the same driver's license, but okay, so smack my wrist. But don't send my family through this because of my driver's license, man. Like, smack my wrist, right? And then also, when you talk about the traffic stop, Reg, I'm glad you brought that up. That was something that I definitely want. You talk about that traffic stop on that day. Imagine the weekend of the anniversary of your friend being murdered behind a traffic stop. Imagine those lights coming on behind you, right? So imagine those lights coming on behind your car. If you watch this man, like, look at you, and then bust a U-turn and get right behind you. A lot of black men know exactly what I'm talking about. But then this video comes out, and it doesn't show, how do you show racial profiling? But then here's the thing is, I'm a man of my word. Like, I'm a man of my word. If I lie to you, I am not your friend. I go and I revisit the officer who pulled me over because I want him to understand my perception. I want him to understand, and I want to understand his perception. I don't want to be a hypocrite because I want to create change. And so the only way we create change is through dialogue also. But I show up because one of my constituents made lunch, and invited me to show up.
He
and
said something profound to you too, didn't he?
Yes.
What did he say?
Yes.
What did the officer say to you?
He actually said he didn't know who I was, and had he known that this traffic stop, something to the effect, like I wanted to keep that secret because it was like a conversation between two men, right? But what he said actually made me hug him. Because he said, he don't even write tickets. He said, this is the officer. He said, man, I don't even write tickets, man. I'm a sergeant. He said, but I sensed attitude. And when I sensed attitude, I write a ticket. I have to respect that, right? I respect him and what he said to me, right? But had I known this ticket would cause you and your family this much turmoil, right? Like, he said, you know, just going back. And so we hugged, we shook hands. We didn't see eye to eye, but we saw man to man. Does that make sense? We didn't see eye to eye, but we saw man to man, and that's how we create the change. And all of a sudden, John Thompson showed up to the police department, and he's unexpected, and I'm like, wow, you're really trying to make me out to be this monster when in actuality, I'm doing exactly what I said I would do. Unapologetically, I don't have to answer to critics and keyboard bloggers, because I know as a man, if someone's wronged you, you go to that man and you tell him you've wronged me. And then we have that conversation. That's how we get past, any type of misunderstandings, right? And I just wanted him to understand my perception. Like, this weekend, my friend was killed in the exact same manner you pulled me over. This is July 4th. If you notice, July 5th, 6th, and 3, the entire weekend of the anniversary of Philando's death was when I went through all of this stuff.
Any regrets on your actions in Hugo? You have been beat up in the media. You've been beat up in the court of public opinion about John the activist showing up in Hugo. And some of the things you said, some of the things you did. Do you have any regrets? I mean, a lot of people continue to be angry with you because of that moment in time.
There's a couple of regrets from Hugo. First of all, I wasn't an elected official in Hugo. Like I was on the campaign trail, so I wasn't a legislator in Hugo.
This was the activist John Thompson showed up.
The thing is, people don't